Hey, bro, watching you play Apex.
I'm good at it. Welcome back. We're the Bourbon Junkies. This is a new video.
Yeah.
It's Thursday.
Thought we were still talking.
We have a topic that we get asked a lot, and I don't know that we're qualified to speak to, but you guys ask us, so now we're going to speak to it.
Got you something.
How to smell
and taste whiskey.
Boom.
Intro. Oh. Bro, the double flip on the E.H. Taylor, people were not fans.
We'll get into it.
Okay, so we chose this bottle because we think most people should start at a low proof.
Pretty good.
Not gonna lie, pretty good.
Well, I had to reel it back to a rocks glass, but
I said good because my body wanted to default to bad.
Sean took a nap.
Bad.
He just woke up.
Start with a nice low proofer. That way you're not getting blown up.
Listen, there are ways to get into smelling and drinking whiskey without absolutely destroying everything about this experience for you.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean you're gonna like the first whiskey you drink or smell or whatever.
Yep.
But there's ways that it doesn't like literally turn you off to the world of bourbon.
If you watch this movie? If you watch this video in reverse, that'll do it. That'll definitely blow you up.
There you go. Like Sean said, start with a low proofer. This is like 81.
Oh.
This is 81 proof whiskey. It has to be 40% or higher to be whiskey. So this is barely proof wise. She's sliding into those DMs.
They were
right
like,
now.
You know what? We're gonna 81.
Now, Sean wanted to use rocks glasses for this.
Okay, so
Use whatever you want.
reasoning.
Do
You
that.
get a little bit more. I mean, there's not a lot of ethanol in there. It's only 40%. But you don't get as much ethanol out of a rocks glass.
Like I have a gigantic nose, as you can see. Look at this. It literally, it takes up the entire entry.
It's yours.
So now, all the ethanol in here, in theory, only went into my nose. My nose, as you can also see, doesn't take up the whole rocks glass.
Thank God.
Science. Again, with me and the science, dude.
Yeah, okay. That's science.
So, okay, first tip. Tip number 1, uno.
Okay.
Light whiffs with the nostrils.
Yeah.
Open mouth. Nailed it.
Dan's a slack jaw, comes easy for him.
Yeah, I'm a mouth breather, 100%, without a doubt.
Also, I think it helps you kind of move your nose around a little bit. Start at the top, roll her down in. You get different things out
We
of
learned
it.
that at Old Forester.
Yeah.
So when we did the tour at the new Old Forester place in Louisville, one of the things they were explaining was like we were using a Glencairn, but they were explaining like smell like the bottom of the glass and then also smell the top and you'll smell different stuff. And I said, no, we won't. In my head, I said that. And then I did it
out loud.
and I was like, oh my gosh, I learned something new today. I've heard things like, give it a rim.
Yeah. Come from the outside. Just a little bit.
Just a little. Ooh. What people I think really ask us more often is like picking out notes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So on the nose, people are like, I know that I like how it smells or I don't like how it smells. And that's how I live most of my life. If we're not shooting and I'm drinking some, I'm like, that is fantastic or that's disgusting, and then move on.
Yep.
When you go into it, if you can relate the things you're smelling or tasting to foods, and listen, there are a lot of people who've said very similar things or identical things that are much smarter than us and have been doing this longer and probably know more. So you just trust them and not us. If you relate it to foods, then realistically, you can be able to go like, oh, what did that taste? Maybe that reminds me of a cake or like a fruit or like a vegetable.
And then you can, narrow it in from there and be like, all right, so it's a fruit. What kind of fruit?
Right.
You're talking red fruit? Flute? I can't even talk. I need to leave.
Holy shit. Honestly, in bourbon, a lot of times you get like caramel, vanilla, cherry, oak. Those are like really normal profile notes. Like with this, I think that this is nutty and I get a lot of cinnamon and a lot of vanilla and like that's pretty it. This is a pretty plain simple whiskey. You don't always have to dig for more notes. You don't.
Crushable. Not everything needs a book.
Well, because listen, if you want to sit down and write a book, do not pick this one.
Yeah.
It's just not intended for that. This is not super slow sipping, sit down by yourself in a little book and some music and writing. No, Stephen King.
That's an awful picture.
It's not a novel.
For some odd reason, you're wearing your underwear in that.
I'm not wearing anything under the robe that's on. And it's split, if you know what I'm saying. But okay, so what we would do next is we would move on to a whiskey that maybe had a little bit more complexity. Generally, not always, but generally, a really low proof whiskey give you less complexity and less flavors and less depth and less
more
richness.
water in there.
Way more water. There's so much water in this, damn near hydrate you.
You're just a big dumb ox. I want you to know this.
You've said flute 4 times now, so.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
All right, moving on.
So what we would do next, getting into whiskey, smelling it, drinking it, we would bump up and proof.
Absolutely.
And you'd flip it, because when you flip a bottle, it oxygenates, which removes calcium deposits.
Nope.
See if I can just, what if I can give this the old, oh, dude, we're getting the little flipper. Oh my gosh, we're getting tricky with it.
Okay. Oh, I thought that Glen was going
I almost lost that.
A rocks glass to a Glen.
We're gonna do 2 steps at once. We're switching glassware and we're switching whiskeys.
So when you get to the point where you can smell the whiskey and it doesn't just burn your nose and you're looking for more notes, try Glencairn. It'll definitely help. That was awful.
Okay, that one was way worse.
Way too far.
Yeah. What was that? It's like Sean's stream. So, we're moving glasses, we're moving whiskeys up in proof.
Definitely helps.
Distillery change doesn't necessarily matter here.
No, you just kind of gotta go through, find out what works for you. We know Old Forester works for us, therefore we're gonna use it. Before we move on, we're gonna talk today. Nope, I just f***ing quit.
Before the next part of the segment of drinking and smelling things that are whiskey related,
I would say before we move on,
we're gonna talk about today's sponsor. It's our favorite men's simple skincare solutions. I just put 4 C's in there. We're gonna talk about Tiege Hanley.
Yeah.
Stop beating around the bush. Just get into it, okay? I'm gonna show you how to use the whole system in about probably 30 seconds.
Hyperlapse.
That's how easy it is.
30 seconds.
We don't need the box where we're going.
Water, wash, too much. Water, scrub. Water, eyes. Lotion.
But literally, that's how easy the whole system is.
There's a card that tells you how many steps if you didn't get it from watching Dan wash his hand.
My hand literally has never been softer, but Tiege offers, this is a subscription-based service. You can change how often you get it. You can change
the levels. You get different options in there. And maybe you just want even less complicated. You can take it down to, I think, to 4 steps.
Like I said, a completely customizable system for you. Go check them out. Click the link in the description below. You either get a free towel from Tiege Hanley or you can get a thing of body wash. So thank you guys as always for working with the channel. Literally the most uncomplicated skincare system I've ever seen, period.
Dan does it.
Period. Literally, you just watched me do it. Back to the video. Glen's, like a little different, right? This is where we learn actually from these guys.
Yeah.
The top to bottom method. Now there's also this theory that I believe is true.
Okay.
I said theory to protect myself.
I like it. I like it. Yep.
You one nostril smells something and one nostril smells a different thing.
So I'm not. You're gonna cut.
It's
this
an O factor.
You're gonna cut this from the video.
Oh.
Realistically, yes, your nose does smell differently.
So
you're moving air through at a different rate.
Right. So switch nostrils. Don't always sham the whole mamma jamma in there. I believe also in theory, leaving your mouth open is supposed to help disperse ethanol.
Pulls through more air.
Now here's what I do also. I believe this to be true and this is a personal experience.
Go ahead.
If you leave your mouth closed, you'll smell more though. It might hurt more, but you will smell more. And that's not a beginner tip, that's a pro tip. Oh, cherries, honey, love, vanilla. Nothing. What you can do is if you don't feel like you're smelling a bunch, grab one of those challenge coins. If you don't feel like you're smelling a bunch on the whiskey, well, like a nice thing that you can do is if you buy like a challenge coin from like one of your favorite whiskey tubers, whoever, bourbonjunk.com. If you do that, you can leave them on top of the Glen for like 5 minutes or so, 10 minutes, an hour, a day. And then when you take it off and smell it, you'll get way more at one time.
And then when you start upgrading your tasting, people talk.
We're back.
So when you start upgrading your glass, you start upgrading your tasting techniques. People talk about the Kentucky Chew a lot.
Oh, I don't do that.
I don't do it either.
I made my own.
But yeah, we'll talk about the pheasant later. People are talking about putting the whiskey in and moving it around basically to all parts of your tongue and just really working it through to get the most flavor extraction.
You have like 7 zones of taste buds on your tongue.
Fake.
You have at least 3.
They're kind of just
You have at least more than 1. All right. So
perpetuating a lot of fake news in this video.
Honestly, this just comes down to repetition, doing it, enjoying it, taking a little bit of time with it. You don't have to take time with everything.
No.
You don't even have to take it that seriously. Obviously.
Definitely don't do that.
But
Or do.
what helps you learn how to pick notes out is smelling different things and then relating it to what's in the glass.
Practice.
We're in here talking about practice.
We're intense
Drinks.
athletes, okay? And all we do is practice
I am
4 nights a week.
A D1 whiskey drinker. Here's one thing I wanted to mention we haven't yet mentioned. It's important.
Go ahead.
When you take a sip of whiskey,
Yep.
you're just this tiniest sip.
You're supposed to act like
Sip,
you're
sip, sip.
telling a secret.
Little
Just a little whisper.
whisper in its ear. You won't. Whisper confidently. That's not any whispers. Those are the opposite of whispers.
What?
Now, next, and the next upgrade, or the next step,
Next
I guess
boss.
I'd say. Going up in proof again
Yep.
to maybe like an uncut, barrel proof, full proof. They don't like, I don't want to say just barrel proof because they don't have to be.
You
Like,
can have anything, I would say above like
Above 110.
below 120. In that range,
this is when you start to experience often the most flavor that the whiskey could possibly offer you. Now, the problem is this is where you start to dance a fine line of, am I tasting alcohol and ethanol, or am I tasting the flavors the whiskey has to offer?
nuances of the whiskey.
Yeah. There are lots of whiskeys that we have in the hut that are so high proof that all you're getting, like the alcohol is overrunning the actual good parts.
Yes.
And that's depressing. It's sad. You don't want to deal with that.
113 proof, 4 grain toasted Penelope here.
It's fantastic.
It's got all the complexity.
It does.
So this is like a perfect proof that you can still roll it around. Yeah, like I said, it won't burn your tongue off, and you just get a lot of crazy flavors in it, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's what you want.
It's literally always okay to be like, I don't know what that is. Like, I don't know, like, smell it. I don't know what that is. I have no idea. You drink it and you're like, what the hell is it? But sometimes it's good to think about stuff and try to, like, put that flavor into perspective or whatever, right?
Yeah, because then the next
it's fun.
time you come across, you'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, I know that. You have something
Right.
to reference it to, even if you didn't before.
Or maybe this will be your reference.
Yeah.
And then the next time you have something, you're like, is that toasted? Because this one time I had this toasted barrel, super vanilla like that. Listen, there's a lot of like tips and tricks and like little techniques. What I'd like to teach you guys today is one very
I
important
was
thing.
really hoping you'd bring out the pheasant. you
And
know?
this is the actual tasting method that all of the professionals at every tasting competition, they all use this method, created and trademarked
Asterisks.
and copyrighted
Nothing what Dandy said is true.
by Daniel Shook, the whiskey savant. I was at the time when I made it. And then I came up with something that I call the drowning turkey and then renamed.
For, liability
For,
reasons. to not be
I don't need a
sued.
cease and desist because when this tasting method takes off, this is not a beginner tasting method. Do not use this if you're just getting into whiskey.
Or drunk. Odds of death go up.
True. This is the most dangerous tasting method in whiskey.
Like Evil Knievel himself, dare not.
So listen, you take the glass, nice whiff, dude, because a lot of flavors come through your nostrils, come to find out,
Truth.
in theory. So then
Truth.
you take as much as you want in. Send it to the back. Let her hit the dangle. Right? And then, before it goes down, you bring your head forward, it rolls back to the front of your tongue, you coat your entire tongue, the entire roof of your mouth, and the back of your throat. Most pleasurable experience possible.
Yes, I feel like you're trying to do it on purpose.
What?
now.
I don't know what you're talking about, dude. It's a repetition thing. It really is. It just takes time. How long did it take me to figure it all out?
I need out. Like, comment, subscribe.
3-4 months. Tops.
We're the Bourbon Junkies. Thanks for being here. See you never.
If you swirl it, you actually add oxygen to the whiskey, which actually opens it up.